Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Meetu from Crafter's Cart. Today I'm going to share a masculine birthday card. This is a part of the final challenge given to me for completing level 1 of the Alt-New Educator certification program. I was asked to create a masculine card using any 3 techniques learnt in the level 1 classes held at the Alt-New Academy. I will be using the 3 basic techniques: ink blending, layer stamping, and heat embossing to add shimmer and shine to my card. For my card, I have used Alt-New's Arabesque Medallion stamp set. I really found this motif stamp very elegant and pretty. Firstly, I took a 5x7 Nina Solar White 80 pounds cardstock. I mounted the motif to my Misty door and used the VersaFine Onyx black ink to stamp the image. As the stamp was already mounted, I also took a sheet of Inka Dinka Doo masking paper and stamped the motif on that too. Next, I selected the parts of the motif which I wanted to heat emboss. There are many small stamps in the set which can be used to add color, and these fit perfectly onto the big motif. Using Versamark ink and some superfine gold embossing powder, I then heat embossed the desired parts. For every portion I was heat embossing, I was using the anti-static powder beforehand to avoid getting the embossing powder everywhere. Next, I took the masking paper on which I had stamped the motif. Using a pair of scissors, first I fussy cut the outside border line and removed all the extra paper. Next, using a pencil, I marked the parts through which I wanted the background color to show. Now these were the parts I had to fussy cut. For this, I used a paper knife. Here is a small tip. The parts which I wanted to remove, I cut slits into them. Then I could cut these using my pointy scissors easily. As this motif is a repetitive pattern, I did not bother to cut it fully and decided to just flip the mask once halfway through with ink blending. I will make sense in few seconds, so please bear with me. Once the fussy cut was done, I adhered the mask to the heat embossed card base. I have recently swatched all my Alt-New and Distress Oxides, and this swatch is really helpful in choosing the right ink for a project. I chose the Distress Oxide Faded Jean for the background color. Using my Picket Fence Studio life-changing brushes, I then applied the ink to the background. I used the Distress spray bottle to spray water onto the background to create some textures. I did use my heat gun to dry the water. Next, I took the mask out and carefully flipped and adhered it to the other half and repeated all the steps. I then carefully peeled off the masking tape. At this time, I noticed that there were some thin portions at the margins still white. So I took a thin brush and applied the Distress Oxide. This just made the inking very neat. I then took 3 colors which went well with the Faded Jeans Oxide. I layered and stamped all the small images to create a pattern on the motif. Once stamped, I again used a brush and alt new inks this time to cover up the portions which I had missed inking while layering. At this point, I decided to add some shimmer to my card, but it was a failed attempt as the grey ink somehow turned pink, so I did layer and stamp again with the grey ink. This added ink layer actually made those portions pop. Next, I trimmed my panel to a 5-inch square and also prepared a top folding card base which is 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch. I also took another piece of cardstock 5.25 by 5.25 inch for matting the stamped panel. To this matting, I added the alt new ink to match the inked panel. I then used art glitter glue to stick all the layers together. For the sentiment, I used the Happy Birthday sentiment from Label Love stamp set. After stamping and cutting the sentiment strip, I did use my Copic marker in black color and went over all the edges of the sentiment strip. This just made the sentiment strip pop. I did use foam strips to create dimension and for adhering the sentiment strip to the card base. Finally, to finish off the card, I used some black sequins. I will be soon uploading the second part of the challenge by Altnew Academy on my YouTube channel. So stay tuned. Happy crafting!